Manila. Midnight. The city lights shimmer along Roxas Boulevard. Suddenly, every TV, radio, and cell phone blares the same headline: Philippines becomes 51st U.S. state, effective immediately. The words flash in red across news tickers. Journalists dash into the streets, microphones in hand. On the big screens in Makati, the American and Philippine flags fly side by side. A tense energy crackles through the humid air. Sirens wail as crowds gather outside malls and government buildings. The news anchors, their voices trembling, confirm the story. The United States Congress has passed a historic bill. The President of the Philippines appears live, his face a mask of uncertainty. Social media explodes. Hashtags trend worldwide. Hashtag PH Statehood, hashtag 51 stars, hashtag Manila Midnight. Some people rush out of their homes, wanting to witness history. Others stay inside, glued to their screens, shocked and unblinking. The city does not sleep. Instead, it holds its breath, caught between disbelief and the dawning sense that everything has changed. In Quezon City, young people cheer and wave both flags. Some hug strangers, laughing and snapping selfies. "We're Americans now!" one shouts, unable to believe her own words. A group of students starts singing Star-Spangled Banner, mixing it with Lupang Hinirang. Their voices echo into the night. But not everyone is celebrating. On a side street, an elderly couple stands in silence. The woman shakes her head, tears in her eyes. "We fought for our independence," she whispers. "What happens to us now?" Her husband nods, looking away, lost in thought. Nearby, a group of workers debates loudly, some excited about new jobs, others worried about the unknown. Debate spreads across neighborhoods. In coffee shops, heated arguments break out. Some see hope for a brighter future, better healthcare, and education. Others fear losing what makes the Philippines unique. A young man asks, "Will we still be Filipino if we are Americans too?" Uncertainty hangs in the air. For every cheer, there is an anxious glance. The country stands at a crossroads, unsure which way to go. Statehood is not just a headline, it is a complete transformation. As the 51st state, the Philippines would gain rights and responsibilities under the U.S. Constitution. Every Filipino would become a U.S. citizen, with the right to vote in federal elections, and the promise of equal protection under American law. But with new rights come new laws. Taxes, education systems, and legal codes would all change. English would likely become even more dominant. The peso could vanish, replaced by the US dollar. Military bases, already a part of the landscape, might expand further. Jobs, travel and business would shift overnight. Filipinos could move freely to any US state. American companies might flood the market. But local businesses could face tough competition. The dream of prosperity is real, but so are the risks of being lost in a much larger system. The big question remains: will the Philippines keep its soul or be swept up by the tide of change? The history between the Philippines and the United States runs deep. In 1898, after centuries as a Spanish colony, the Philippines was ceded to the U.S. The Philippine-American War soon followed, a bloody struggle for freedom. Yet over time, a complex partnership grew, marked by both pain and progress. American teachers, called Thomasites, introduced English in schools. The legal and political systems adopted U.S. models. During World War II, Filipino and American soldiers fought side by side. After the war, the Philippines finally gained full independence in 1946, but the ties did not break. Military bases remained. U.S. pop culture, brands and values became part of daily life. Filipino nurses and workers moved to America, building new lives while sending money home. The connection is more than political. It is personal, woven through families and memories. Now, as statehood looms, the weight of this shared past presses heavily. The future feels uncertain, but the history cannot be erased. Walk through any city in the Philippines, and, honestly, America is everywhere. Fast food chains crowd the streets: McDonald's, KFC, Starbucks. English is the main language of business and education. American movies fill the cinemas, and NBA games are watched in every barangay. For some, this influence brings comfort and opportunity. US brands mean jobs. English opens doors abroad. Many see America as a model for democracy and success. Filipinos have long admired American pop stars, athletes, and tech giants. Yet there is a double edge. Not all American imports are welcome. Local traditions sometimes get pushed aside. Young people may prefer burgers to adobo, or English to Tagalog. There is pride in being global, but also a fear of losing what is local. The irony is clear. The Philippines has always balanced being Filipino and being influenced by America. Statehood would make that tension permanent, turning questions of taste into questions of identity. Economists jump into the debate. On one hand, statehood could mean massive investment. U.S. companies might build factories, create jobs, and modernize infrastructure. Filipino workers could earn higher wages, protected by American labor laws. The poverty rate might drop, and access to healthcare could improve. Tourism might surge, with Americans eager to visit a tropical state far from the mainland. Filipino entrepreneurs could sell goods across the entire U.S., no longer hindered by tariffs or visas. The dream of a better life seems closer than ever. But there are risks. Local businesses might be crushed by big American brands. Farmers and fishermen could struggle to compete with U.S. agribusiness. The cost of living could rise, especially in big cities. Some worry that wealth will not reach the rural poor. The promise of prosperity is real, but so is the danger of deepening inequality. Statehood brings both hope and hard choices. Filipino culture is, incredibly rich and diverse. Each region has its own festivals, dances and dialects. Families gather for fiestas, eat lechon, and honestly, sing karaoke late into the night. The sound of laughter, the smell of street food, and the beat of jeepneys. These are all uniquely Filipino. But statehood could change these traditions. English might become even more dominant, maybe pushing aside Tagalog and local languages. American holidays could overshadow fiestas. Young people might grow up with new dreams and new heroes. Still, culture is resilient. Many Filipinos are proud of their heritage. They might embrace statehood while keeping traditions alive, mixing the old with the new, just as they've always done. Filipino food, music, and art could even become more visible in the wider U.S. culture. The future of Filipino identity really depends on what people choose to remember and celebrate. Change is certain, but survival is a choice. As a state, the Philippines would send senators and representatives to the U.S. Congress. Every Filipino would have the right to vote in federal elections and the promise of equal protection under the law. Civil rights would be strengthened and new opportunities would open up. But the risks are real. With over 100 million people, the Philippines would be the largest U.S. state, but just one of many voices in a vast federal system. Some folks fear losing local control. Would Washington really listen to Manila? Would Filipino leaders have real power, or just be sidelined? The legal system would change too. American courts would handle the big cases. Some people worry about losing local customs and laws. Others wonder if old problems like corruption and inequality could really be solved by new rules. Statehood brings rights, but it also brings the risk of being unheard in a nation of 50 other states. News of Philippine statehood, well, it stuns the world. China and other Asian neighbors react with alarm. The South China Sea dispute suddenly shifts. It's now a matter between the US and its rivals. Regional alliances like ASEAN are shaken. Some countries worry about losing influence in Southeast Asia. Allies like Japan and Australia watch closely, wondering what it means for their own security. The United Nations debates the move. Some praise the democratic choice, others call it neo-colonialism. Filipino communities abroad face new questions about identity and loyalty. Trade routes, military alliances, and diplomatic ties all face sudden change. The global balance of power tilts. Some fear conflict, while others see hope for peace. The eyes of the world are now fixed on the Philippines, waiting to see what happens next. After the headlines fade, the real questions remain. What does it mean to be Filipino? Is identity tied to geography, language, or is it something deeper? Can a nation survive in a new form, or does it disappear into something larger? Statehood is not just a legal change, it's a test of values. Some Filipinos dream of opportunity and equality, others fear losing their culture and voice. The choice is not easy. The future will be shaped by what the people value most: freedom, belonging, tradition, or change. No one can predict exactly what will come. But one thing is clear. The story of the Philippines is not over. It's just beginning a new and uncertain chapter. The fate of a nation rests in the hands of its people, and the world is watching as they decide who they want to become.